Greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Getting to Know Michigan series, specifically talking about fraternity and sorority life. I am Travis Martin, he, him pronouns, and I serve as Associate Dean of Students and Director of Fraternity and Sorority Life. We want to spend a few moments doing some introduction of the staff that are here today with us. We're excited to speak with you briefly about joining a fraternity or sorority here at the University of Michigan. And so without further ado, I'll turn it over to my colleagues for them to introduce themselves as well, according to the order of the slides as well on slide 2.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shannon Benson. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve as the Associate Director of Fraternity and Sorority Life and Panhellenic Advisor.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan Borker. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I serve as an assistant director and the Interfraternity Council advisor.
Hello, everybody. My name is Abriana Carrenas, she, her pronouns, and I am the advisor to our culturally based fraternal organizations and community liaison to multicultural initiatives.
All right, so we'll spend just a brief moment talking a little bit about the history and the department overview of fraternity and sorority life here at Michigan. And so fraternity and sorority life here at Michigan really has a really rich history that dates back to almost the beginning of the university. And so in 1845, we had two of our national fraternities start here at the University of Michigan. And then just a few years later in 1879, we had our first sorority that was chartered here at Michigan. And then a few years later in 1909, we have our first traditionally African-American organizations chartered here that eventually made up the National Panhellenic Council. And then in 1989, we had our first multicultural organization, specifically Multicultural Greek Council organization, but specifically our first Latinx organization. And then in the years to come, following 1989, we have a number of other cultural organizations that surface and establish themselves here at the University of Michigan, to include Asian interest organizations, Latinx sororities, other multicultural organizations, and also an Arab organization here at the University of Michigan. So we're very proud of the rich diversity that make up the fraternity and sorority community here at Michigan. And, this really is what makes our community very unique. But also, we like to say any student can find a place in our community, depending on whatever their cultural interests are, or even their interests as well. So I will then shift us a little bit to talk a little bit about how our department is structured and how we work to support the fraternity and sorority experience here. And so our work here is very key and also very dependent on partnerships and governance. And so as you can see, this model or diagram here really shows how we work to support the fraternity and sorority experience here at the University of Michigan. So your student would join a chapter, which is below here, but the governance and partnerships that is supporting the chapter experience is supported by both the university, but also an external international organization, particularly that oversees the chapter. And so, as you can see here, the university provides supervision to the Fraternity Sorority Life Office, which is the office that supports our 50+ organizations. And then also here at Michigan, as I mentioned, we have these supported student organizations called councils. And we'll talk a little bit more about the councils a little bit later, but the councils are student self-governed elected leaders that oversee and governs all of our 50+ chapters here at the University of Michigan. And again, that is the university oversight and governance of our chapters, but also, as I mentioned earlier, the international organizations also provide oversight as well for our chapters. And so the university, as well as the international organization, partners in that oversight and governance. And so we work very closely with our external partners and stakeholders to really provide a seamless fraternity or sorority experience to your student if they so choose to join. And so I'll turn it over to Jordan, who will speak a little bit about the benefits of joining a fraternity and sorority here at Michigan.
Thanks, Travis. Just like you just heard from Travis, we have a rich history and a a very specific and intentional organizational structure on how we support and how we supervise and advise the organizations and students. But this is also about the things that students should be getting out of being a part of a fraternity or sorority at the University of Michigan. So here is just a list of a few different benefits that being a part of a fraternity sorority could allow you to be able to kind of foster and build some of these values and these traits as you go through your time at Michigan. So the first one, personal relationships, being able to create those lifelong friendships, having a support system when you're at the university, being able to share in different identities, diverse identities and experiences, and being able to create that sense of belonging, community, that home here at Michigan. The other thing is being able to look at academic support and leadership development. What are you doing about how you're creating your networks and networking both while you're in college and even outside of college, being able to maintain the academic integrity that Michigan holds dear. And finally, being able to participate in national, regional, state events that your organization might host that you can attend. Another one that we would hope that you're able to gain is leadership development. That's being able to lead with integrity. That is being able to kind of gain and sharpen those skills, those soft skills and hard skills that you gain by holding maybe a position, being on a committee, or being just a part of the cog of the fraternity sorority organization. It's also being able to collaborate, proficiently with others while you're in those committees or as you're being able to discuss and debate important topics and issues. And finally, being able to kind of understand bystander intervention, how to utilize some of those tactics and those strategies to be a good active bystander. And finally, it's how we give back. It's the service, it's the philanthropic opportunities that's supporting the Ann Arbor community and Washtenaw County, being able to learn about how do we positively impact our community and those organizations and those causes, being able to raise awareness, as well as being able to fundraise and raise funds and other resources for those organizations and for those causes. So now I'm going to pass it along to Avery, who's going to be able to share a little bit more about our community.
Thank you, Jordan. So as Jordan mentioned, we're going to go over a few things about our community here at the University of Michigan. So as mentioned by Travis, we do have 4 unique councils that offer many experiences to our members. So once again, our Interfraternal Council, our Multicultural Greek Council, our National Panhellenic Council, and our Panhell Council here. We have over 50 organizations and continuing to grow. So we are excited for the growth of our community out here. So right now, currently totaling more than 5,000 students, and the list will continue. The growth will be there, and we're excited. Following our academics for our Winter 23, our FSLs, community, we had a GPA of a high 3.6, overall UM for 3.5. So pretty impressive. We're quite proud of our students here. And for fall 23, we have a 3.5 average across our community here, whereas U of M also continued with that 3.5. And for our 2022-2023 academic year, we have raised in total in our community over $339,270 for a lot of philanthropies across our councils and our communities, and a total of 19 community service hours per member.
So as Avery kind of mentioned, the 4 unique councils that make up fraternity and sorority at Michigan, one of them is the Interfraternity Council, or IFC. There are 19 affiliated fraternities that provide opportunities for friendship, brotherhood, and leadership development. Some of those benefits that we spoke on earlier. Recruitment, or ways to be able to join one of those organizations, will start in the beginning of each semester. So in this fall, that will be right in the beginning of fall 2024 in August, where there'll be events held by the council itself to help promote and to give space for the 19 fraternities to meet incoming students, active students, anyone that wants to be able to learn a little bit more about the IFC fraternities. Most members do live in their chapter facility if they have one, after they join. So if they joined in the fall semester, there's more than likely a chance that they would live in their chapter facility in their sophomore year. The other thing I wanted to share is that one fraternity, Tau Kappa Epsilon, or TEEK, is going to be joining us in the fall to be expanding to be another organization to make that 1920 for the next academic year.
And another council mention, our Multicultural Greek Council, or MGC, so established here at the University of Michigan in 2002, and currently comprised of 11 organizations. Currently has fraternities and sororities in this council together that historically, but not exclusively, Latinx, East Asian, South Asian, Arab, and multicultural. And once again, as I mentioned, we're continuing this expansion and the growth of this community. So we're excited for more members, more organizations, more leaders to come into these spaces. All these organizations together and separately will host a week full of events for interested students, from informationals to community service, philanthropic events, and so forth. Next, we have our National Pan-Hellenic Council. So it was chartered here at the university on October 21st in 2005. The chapters historically were chartered in the early 1900s, though. So mentioned earlier, our earliest was in 1909. So membership in the MPHC chapters means that students honor activism by doing service and programming in the Black community. Again, not exclusive to African-American or Black membership. It is open to those who want to contribute to this activism and the service in the community at the university as well. The chapters and the council will host a week for students to learn more about how they intake their members, more about their organizations, community service, also time for community to come together, whether that's board games or spending time out in different areas around the Ann Arbor community.
Okay, in our Panhellenic Association sororities, also known as PanHel, there are 17 sororities that are part of this council. 16 belong under the National Panhellenic Conference umbrella, and then we have one associate member, Phi Sigma Rho, which is our engineering sorority. And these sororities promote friendship, sisterhood, networking, community service and philanthropy. There's lots of leadership development opportunities. It's very common for everybody in the organization to hold a leadership role. And then there's also big community programming as well. There are a couple of different ways to join a Panhellenic Association sorority. So our informal recruitment, known as continuous open bidding, or COB, will be held in the fall semester. Please note that first-year students are not eligible to go through fall COB. Students who meet the eligibility criteria, which we'll talk about in a little bit, are able to go through COB in the fall. One thing that's important to know is that not all chapters will be eligible. So if you want to meet every Panhellenic chapter, then you'll want to wait for primary recruitment, which will be held in January 2025. That is our major recruitment period, and that is when first-year students are eligible to go through the process as long as they meet all the criteria. Primary recruitment takes place over a couple of weeks with events primarily on the weekends, and it's a process that you do need to register for, and we'll talk more about that. Something that's really important to the Panhellenic experience here at Michigan is housing. 16 of our 17 chapters operate facilities, and most members live in chapter houses the year after they join. So if you join in January of 25, you could anticipate living in the 2025-2026 school year. Each sorority handles housing differently, as all of the facilities are privately managed. But once you get to campus, you'll start to get a lot of pressure to sign a lease right away. And we just want you to be able to pause, take time before you sign. If you are considering going through primary recruitment, you should not sign a lease until after recruitment in January 2025, once you know your sorority housing obligations.
So I will reiterate some of the joining opportunities, particularly the diverse joining opportunities that has been mentioned previously for each of our councils. And so we think it's important for you all to know that throughout the school year that each of our councils, as you can see, will have various and different joining processes. And so what we really encourage students to do is to follow the social media of all of our chapters, our councils, but also the Fraternity Sorority Life office, and to learn more about different events that you could come out and meet members on. The office will host a Welcome Week event each year, and right before in the first week of classes. And so also every first year and second year student will be receiving a mailer via snail mail in late July or early August. And so just be on the lookout for that mailer that'll be coming out for all first year and second year students. And it'll have additional information about how to learn more about our community and or some of the upcoming events and opportunities to engage as well. Very important for first year or for all students in particular. Once you decide that you are interested in exploring membership in a fraternity or sorority, there is a 4-step process that all students must go through prior to joining or pursuing a membership in one of our fraternities or sororities. And so this information is on our website. If you go to fsl.umich.edu on the Join Us tab, it'll lay out these 4 steps that you can learn more about and how to engage particularly. And so, as noted earlier, Shannon mentioned the Panhellenic Association process requires a registration. And so in addition to these 4 steps, some councils may require an additional registration if you're going through a primary recruitment process. So definitely be on the lookout for that information as well. We recommend all students complete all of these 4 steps as early as possible, particularly as you're trying to meet particular registration deadlines for some of our groups that require registrations for joining their organizations as well. And so in step 1, there is more about you just learning the processes and deadlines for each of the processes. And then step 2, there is a required educational module that we'll ask all students to complete. And that module is really going through and helping you learn more about the diversity of our fraternity sorority community, what it means to be a fraternity sorority member here at Michigan. And then we also have another training module that is really educating you on how to be an active bystander in the community to promote safety, health and well-being throughout the community. And then also there is the actual verification of the completion of all of the requirements, which means that you are in good standing with your school or college, that you are enrolled in, that you are on good conduct standing with the University of Michigan, and of course that you have completed those aforementioned educational training modules as well. And so, and again, as I mentioned, after you complete those 4 steps, if applicable, depending on which council you're interested in joining, a registration might also be required as well. So if you have any questions, fsl.information@umich.edu is a great way to reach out to us, or also our office number, which is 734-936-3686. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us as well.
So we briefly just wanted to highlight a couple of next steps so you know exactly where to access information. Our community consists of 4 amazing and unique councils with more than 50 organizations across them. So we want to give you lots of opportunity to meet our students and learn more about our entire community. We will host different events and programming throughout the school year. Some will be driven by our office, some will be driven by the councils, some will be driven by chapters within the councils. And so the best way to stay in the loop about information is to check out our website and also follow us and the councils on social media. You can see our Instagram handles there. We'll be at orientation, we'll be pretty visible throughout the school year, and we're happy to answer any questions about the community, the experience, what it offers, the joining process. So please know that we're happy to help you as you figure out what you want to do.
Good opportunity. Thank you again for joining us for this Getting to Know Michigan series, particularly around fraternity sorority life. We hope to see you at some point in the new school year. Thank you for joining us again. And as always, forever go blue.